All right, guys, Automatic Garage back today with this 04 Excursion, and we showed a little sneak peek of a whole entire stack of parts. I'll get back there in just a second. But we're getting a late start today. I had to get my pearly whites clean. But these good fellas that I got here in the shop got started, getting ready to raise this cab up on this Excursion here. So I guess we'll start with that. I don't know if it's going to be one video or multiple videos, because let me just go back here to this pile of parts. So here's our whole pile of parts. And Gary, look at how neat Gary's handwriting is. I told him, I said, get a piece of paper, write it. So we had a whole real long punch list. Not punch list, but a whole long list of showing everything we had here, so we know we have what we need to do this job. Glow plugs, harnesses, gasket sets, high pressure pump, new nipple cups, which are HHC ones, forward standpipes and dummy plugs, push rods, all that there. It's in this pile here. KC turbo, Odawgs intake, Kill Devil heads, bean sump, fast fuel pump. I mean, whole bunch. Mitsumoto radiator, full exhaust. There's a bunch here. Did you get yours out over here, Gary?
Yep. You're gonna have to charge him a cleaning fee.
Why?
There's enough sand here to build a little sand castle out back.
Well, let's get you a little box and we can put all that in there for you, and then when you get bored here,
Look at that. Look how thick that is.
you can build you a little sand castle. We could turn it into some of that. What's that special sand the little kids play with now? Right here.
Kinetic sand.
Kinetic sand. Good job, Gary. So big thanks to Andrew for sending this with the truck. I've just never broke down and bought one. But man, I can almost get up here and take a nap while I'm working on this. All right, so you're raising the cab on an Excursion. Start me out, Bubba. One.
Got one here just over the top of the fuel tank. Another body mount.
Right before your floor pan goes down.
Floor pan drops down. One in front of the rear seat. One underneath the driver's feet. And your radiator mount. That's a total of 6 per side. So you're gonna have 12.
And if you get under the truck, just make sure you undo 12, because you can't see these at all under the truck because your fuel tank's in the way. Another thing to remember with raising your Excursion is you got a filler neck that you have to undo. You don't normally undo that with the Super Duty. You've got running board lights if you still got factory running boards. And I think that's it. That's the only thing different with the Excursion. Everything else in the front is the same as far as undoing the motor. So just make sure that you get all your body mounts. And you're gonna have to remove the spare tire also to get to that one on that side, so you can roll the carpet back enough. And then we always put some counterweight in the front because the back is so heavy. So we got 2 batteries in each floorboard as some counterweight. And I forgot to mention, you have this harness back here that's right here behind your bumper that you have to undo also. This feeds all your backup sensors, trailer brakes, license plate lights, all that. That's where that goes to. And we're in a pickle. We got this 04 Excursion raised up to do our normal head gasket job with the Kill Devil O-ring heads. We're doing a billet high pressure pump and all that. So we got it tore down. I'm gonna show you what we found so far. So whenever I'm doing one of these anyways, we always either put a STC fitting in it or just check all this, and you can see the cam when you do that, of course. And when you look at those cam lobes, I'll try to get y'all the best shot I can. They're very pitted up and chewed up. It looks terrible. So that's problem number one. We went on and pulled the lifter holder on the front passenger side just so I could look at the lifters. And they're all scored up on the bottom also. The rollers got scratches in them. So with the cam looking like that, I came down here, I said, well, let's pull the low pressure oil pump and look at that. So you can see all that scoring on the front cover. Lots of scoring. And then we got our low pressure oil pump here, pitting on all the gears. Right there. So I think it probably started eating a lifter or it's just all the metal from the system. This is a Florida truck. There's sand in every nook and cranny of this truck. It almost looks like it got neglected on filter changes, or the filter even being sealed up right. Probably neglected on oil changes and running a quality oil on top of that, which has caused a whole lot of the problems we have, because this only has 177,000 miles. A whole stack of parts is going on it back there, which is probably in the ballpark, I don't know, $12,000 to $15,000 worth of stuff. KC turbo, heads, studs, Mishimoto, radiator, Odawgs intake, all that stuff was going on. So I called the customer. I said, hey, if this was my truck, I wouldn't even remotely think about using this block. So where we're at now, y'all know we're all located in West Tennessee. Choates Performance is the closest place to us, and it's also the closest place that also has a short block assembly. So that was our problem, was the time frame, because most lead times on all these motors, long block or short block, was 8, 10, 12 weeks. Y'all know this is a small shop. You all know I have one lift here. There's another lift probably coming in the future, but still, I've got a bay tied up here, and I've got other head gasket jobs and other front end jobs and rear ends to rebuild and everything else sitting outside this shop. So I was kind of in a bind. He's in a bind because he don't want his truck here for half a year waiting on this to get done. So we're pulling this motor. Choates is sending the short block through quality control before it can get sent out. And we're gonna have this sitting ready to load up and go pick it up in Bolivar, which is just an hour away from us, and work on other stuff until we get that phone call. Engine hoist hooked up, bell housing bolts are out, torque converter bolts are out, motor mounts are loose. We took the main wiring harness right here for your ground and everything off the front of the motor here. Only other thing we got is the little bracket that holds the transmission lines, which we're gonna go up with the motor just enough to get some more room to get in there a little bit easier, because we're working with a mess on the floor from everything we've been doing, and we're just trying to get this motor pulled so we can go grab this other one. Motor's out. Now we're pulling off anything else that's got to be pulled off. Flex plate, motor mounts, power steering pump, all the pulleys, AC, which that's why the wiring harness is still on, so we can unplug it and get it unrouted from behind the compressor. All right, we're all stripped down, everything removed, flex plate, cam, crank sensor, hoses, power steering pump, air conditioner, all of our drive pulleys, which no, we're not reusing all of that stuff. I had a brand new air conditioner on it. He's got a whole set of all the Mishimoto hoses that'll go on the new motor. Anyways, this will get strapped to a pallet and be going to Choates. Hey, what are we doing today?
We're going to pick up the motor from Choates, finally.
But what are we doing?
After 4 weeks.
What are we doing right now since we're in Goldie?
Stop at O'Reilly's because our battery light came on Goldie, so we're going to check the voltage.
How convenient. It's be an hour away from home with no tools.
Not quite an hour yet. But
we will be. That's when it'll totally crap out. Well, the O'Reilly's came through about 15 minutes and a new alternator later. We're what, 13.7 or something?
We're at 12.3.
Yeah, she was only putting out, we had battery voltage. We had 12 volts, that was it. So. Yeah, none of the shops around here knew what a voltometer was. So anyways, we're back on the road. Pretty stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That looks familiar, doesn't it?
It does.
Already gave us a whole thing full of merch here. Said his name was James, correct?
Cody, something like that.
Anyways, we're getting ready to unload the motor, and we're going to get a tour of the facility here. Pretty big place. Look how good Goldie looks in here. Look at all the front covers. That's pretty all clean.
Isn't it? And y'all can poke around in it. Doesn't bother me a bit. Yeah. So this is the workhorse. This is going to have a 36 pounds. Somebody push rod.
Yeah, I want to get you explaining the different levels you got there.
Flex plate. This one, this is a blessed order right here. So
A lot of motors.
but then those are boxed up ready to go. That one's on the stand getting compressors.
Well, I will say it looks like y'all crate and box y'all's better than most people do. Yeah, we have a pasture in the back full of Powerstrokes for parts. Call it the Powerstroke pasture.
Gator studs.
Hey, what do you think of them?
We like them. Just stay away from exotic.
That's what I've always heard too.
But so we picked up Gator when ARP got real hard to get a hold of.
So what's on
During,
the motor that my other customer's buying? Is it going to have Gator studs or ARPs? Or do y'all use exclusively Gator?
either or.
Either or.
Yeah. Whatever the customer
Like that right there.
Yeah.
You need to weld one of them up.
Yeah.
All the 7.3s get the billet freeze plugs, so we make those in house. And they're on the sides right there too. And all the 7.3s, I think this is a workhorse. They get kinetic head.
Tell me the reasoning behind this, because I've never had an issue with it. But I mean,
Cass got tired of having warranty claims for freeze plugs, so he just said, "Screw it, we'll make them."
that works.
I can find the Cummins over there. I'll show you the ones on the Cummins.
So there's their custom billet freeze plugs for the Cummins there.
And that's a workhorse. So this one's gonna have the pistons
Those are all coated and everything.
coated fly cut and delipped. Yes, sir. But that's where they crack on all of them, man. Two right there on the seat. Bunch of them right there.
But see, this is why I don't, when I'm doing a head gasket job, I just order a set of heads, because I'm wasting time sending this out to get it Magnaflux checked and everything else.
These have the jets in them. I think these were just the rough cut before the choke or the Powerstroke, and
Yeah.
you can get them either way.
Those are pretty.
They are. And there's been talk about doing some for a 6.0 and a 7.3. So to upgrade the rocker arm pedestals,
Okay. It's for a 6.7.
Powerstroke. Yep. These are brand new. These are not even on the website.
So this is a new thing y'all just started.
Yep. The Rottler dude was here yesterday for something. Oh, all the way through.
There's your 6.0 cam.
But I would imagine that's how it works.
There's your 7.3 cam. 6.0 crank. 6.4. I noticed there's not a 7.3 here. Those shelves you see all in the background are all used parts that have been inspected and they're okay. A lot of y'all know probably you've had a front cover issue or a front cover get torn up, and depending on what Ford has in stock or if you can find it, sometimes you can't find the front cover. So I said, next time that happens, if I need a front cover, can I call y'all? And he's like, yeah, sure. He said, we got the front covers all here. He said, we can sell you a front cover. Parts galore, man. We found the statue of Gary doing what he does best, sitting down right here. All right, guys, so Jacob kind of showed us around here at Choates. Nice place. I got a lot of knowledge and knowing that they're right up the road, and we got access to used parts or even new parts or their heads or their cams or whatever. So this was an enjoyable experience coming up here. We're going to get back to the shop, unwrap that motor, and see what all we got. So give Choates a call if you're looking for something like that. All right, so nice folks at Choates letting us look around there. I think we'll be seeing more of them on the channel here. I hear Goldie squeaking now. Goldie is squeaking. Hopefully we don't have to do another repair on the way home. But anyways, we're gonna get back to the shop. We're gonna unwrap this motor. When we got it unwrapped, that's all we took off so far. And we do have a new oil cooler. We got a new Motorcraft water pump, and I'm wondering, is this, I'll bet you $5 that ain't a USA oil cooler. But we'll leave that up to him. I would not recommend it. What we got here? The cover. No, with his stuff, I'm just saying, I bet the one that they just sold him ain't USA.
Say Motorcraft on it?
It says Motorcraft on it, don't matter. You'll take it out, it'll say Ford stamped on it, which ain't nothing but a glorified Dorman. All right, so we're gonna lift this out and take a look at it. So we're all unboxed here. It's nice and pretty, but at immediate glance, it has no front cover on it and no low pressure oil pump, which was supposed to be on here. Inspection sign off shows that a front cover was signed off on. Of course, it did not have the block heater or the rocker arm assembly or the fuel gallery head plugs because it has no heads on it because we got a short block. So we're waiting to get a call back because the front cover's on the other motor, which was ruined, but it also has all the bolts we need for installing a front cover anyways. So now we don't have bolts and don't have a front cover. All right, we are finally getting this old girl put back together with the Choates short block. Today we got our oil cooler top all cleaned up, high pressure oil pump top all cleaned up, turbo pedestal. What you working on now, Mama?
Oil canister housing.
He's cleaning up the oil filter housing. We got a new USA made oil cooler. We're going to put our O-rings and everything on that, get it put in the housing. So before this goes in the truck, we're going to do the high pressure oil pump, which it has an adrenaline high pressure oil pump also. We'll get the turbo pedestal on, we'll get the oil cooler on, we'll get the front cover and the low pressure oil pump on, which is also new from Ford going on here. Probably go on and do the bulletproof diesel water pump, and then we'll get it up on the engine hoist, and we'll get our AC compressor, power steering, pump, all that stuff bolted back up on it, and then it's going back in the truck. And then we're back to doing just your normal head gasket job, which is what this initially started as. So let me get all this stuff on, and we'll show you that after it's on here. All right, we got our high pressure oil pump in, cover on, all torqued down. Same thing with the oil cooler here. Went on, put turbo pedestal and turbo drain back on. We got our front cover put on, torqued down to 18 foot-pounds. We had to go steal some dowels out of another motor we had sitting here because we didn't have dowel pins for it, but that's in now. Low pressure oil pump is in. We're gonna put our cover on the front now, and then we're gonna show y'all installing the seal on here real quick. What are you doing?
We're fixing to install a seal on this low pressure oil pump.
What's step number one?
Step number one is to make sure that your hole lines up with the dowel right here. It's gonna go in like this. And you're gonna thread them down until they bump, and then back them off a little bit. You want them to be able to move. You want this to be able to flex a little bit. So that's all the way down. It's got a little bit of play.
And then what we're getting ready to do now, we'll put a little bit of red Loctite on the new seal. Once we get it, I'll show y'all after I put it on there. All right, so we got our wear sleeve and our seal right there. Put red Loctite thin coat on the crankshaft there. Bubba's putting the tool on now. It has a bearing.
And then your nut goes on. And you should be able to just tighten this up and it bottom the seal out.
Pull bottom out.
It does.
All right, we're assembled as far as we're gonna go with it sitting here on the floor. We're gonna pick it up with the cherry picker and get it put back in here. We degreased his engine cradle and threw a coat of paint on there for him because it was mostly bare metal. So we got that all cleaned up and painted for him. Get this mated back up to the transmission, have it sitting in here, and we will start the day fresh tomorrow and start putting studs and head gaskets and kill devil heads and all that stuff on it. All right, we're dropping the block in now. We're all prepped. We're all got two of our bell housing bolts ready. Got our torque converter bolts ready. Made sure the torque converter is seated all the way in the transmission. So we're gonna put you on time lapse and drop this dude in here. All right, we got our bell housing bolts tightened up. I got to put the torque converter nuts on still, right? I'll do that after we set the motor down. We're getting ready to, we got our power steering pump bolted on, air conditioner bolted on, and we went on and initially started running our harness because the crank sensor, of course, is behind the air conditioner. It makes it a lot easier to plug that in. So now we're gonna go and set it down, do our motor mounts, do the torque converter nuts, and then we'll be ready to start reassembling the whole rest of it. All right, everything underneath is done, motor mounts, torque converter nuts. We got our starter wire, positive cable, ground hooked back up in the front. Everything's done on the bottom side of this. We've wiped our deck surface down several times, blown it off, put our ultra torque lube on the bottom of the studs just a little bit, tightened them down, came off a back quarter turn. We're getting ready to wipe one more time, blow it off, and set these heads on here with the he bought the male brand Black Diamond gaskets. It's not what I typically use, what he had bought already, so that's what we're using. So yeah, we're gonna do that, get the head sit on here. We gotta clean some rocker boxes up, then that can go on, then we can torque these heads down. And look at these nice KDD heads. That's the way to go. Don't even use the factory casting. What are you doing?
Torquing these heads down.
Do we do it in 3 steps?
We do.
Do we repeat each step? And even the last one like 3 times?
Yep.
Just to be sure. Just to be sure. Everything's all cleaned up. Got our assembly lube up here on the top of our push rods. Also, all of our ultra torque lube for the ARP stuff on the washers, nuts, and shaft itself. So yeah, that's where we're at. We're gonna call it a day. After this, the next day will just be all reassembly of the rest. We got
Mishimoto.
yeah, I'm talking
Radiator.
about the damn injectors. I can't think.
We got worn diesel injectors.
Worn diesel injectors, yes.
Odawgs intake.
Mishimoto coolant filtration,
coolant
Mishimoto
filtration.
radiator, Mishimoto hoses,
Regulated return.
regulated return, bean sump, fast fuel pump. All that's going on. So we'll see y'all then.
She's gonna be nice.
Gary's got all our 155/30 worn injectors all greased up, ready to go down in the cups. We got our hold downs all cleaned up from the parts cleaner. While he's doing that, getting ready to torque those to 26 foot-pounds. We've sprayed off our high pressure oil rails with brake clean. This is flash rust technically. They'll get wiped down again from being clean. But we're doing our HHC nipple cups, which are right here. I'll show you all those in just a second. But you got your nipple cup socket, basically bust them loose with an impact. And then I'll show y'all putting one back together just for fun. We'll have HHC nipple cups in there. Then Bubba's cleaning the valve cover bolts. Gary's also greasing the standpipes and dummy plugs up to go in. And then we'll be to the point, then we have the valve covers on, the motor will be 100% sealed up, and everything else will just be external at that point.
What's that?
Greased O-ring up down in the groove, and our cleaned up threads and holes here. Greased up HHC nipple cup. Drop it in. All right, that's all cleaned up. Got a little bit of grease on the face there.
After I do this, I'll
Just run them in, hand tight, get them ready to torque so that everything stays centered up. And then torque it to 100 foot-pounds while Gary holds it with all of his strength.
Stout. That's a stout dude.
Dab of grease on top of our injectors for the O-rings. High pressure oil rails going on. Just try to put it on as straight as possible. All right, high pressure oil rail, 120 inch-pounds. Work your way from the inside out just like a head. And then we're gonna do the standpipes and dummy plugs. High pressure oil rail torqued, 120 inch-pounds. Standpipes, dummy plugs, 69 foot-pounds. We're going to put our intake gaskets on and, our valve cover gaskets on and the valve covers. Bubba's getting ready to start throwing glow plugs in while I'm doing that. Go to 14 foot-pounds, brand new Motorcraft ZD32 glow plugs. And then we'll have this thing all sealed up. We can start throwing all the brand new goodies like the Odawgs intake, KC turbo, all that stuff on. Got our exhaust manifolds cleaned up ready with new gaskets also. Those will be going on. Got to clean the bolts up for those real quick. We got our intake gasket sitting up there, our donut right there. Got our Bluetooth EGR bolted up there. They're putting the bungs in, the Odawgs intake there now. So we're getting ready to set that dude on here, torque it down, and then we can get on to doing our regulated return kit, wiring, all that fun stuff. All right, so we just got done fighting with this driven diesel regulated return, which we had some issues with, it's not necessarily the regulated return issues, but the Odawgs intake was some stuff. We had to clearance our alternator down there and grind that to clear this plug here so that would fit, because we put him a brand new alternator on here. Injector plugs are very tight to plug in with the Odawgs intake also. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. There's your regulated return going from the back of your cylinder heads. Regulator is up here. Of course, you got new lines going to your banjo bolts on the front of each side there also. And this is the kit that is not a fuel bowl delete also, so we're retaining the factory fuel bowl up here. So we're getting ready to look in our fast system and see what we have to do to make connections there, because it'd be a lot easier to do that now with the cab up also. So that's where we're at, but it's looking good. ready to go down with the cab here shortly. What we've done today, well, we kind of got carried away last night. I don't know where we left off last, but we got our downpipe on. He got an exhaust kit that uses the factory cat. This truck came with no exhaust. Y'all remember the video earlier that we made on this truck? It was stopped right here, so I'm gonna have to make a piece of pipe to go in place of where the cat piece was supposed to go. See, we got our up pipes on, did all that stuff, turbo on. That's where we're at. We installed our probe today for our EGT. We put the fast system on. Coming back here, fast pump mounted there. The only thing we have not done is we haven't put our bean sump in the tank yet. Let me show you what we're doing with the tank. So since we're doing the sump and this truck was not running and it's been up on the lift for however long, we didn't know how much fuel was in it, and we wanted to go on and get all of that out since the pickup broke off. So we're pumping everything out of the tank. We're gonna get all the trash out of it, and then we're gonna lower the cab down, get everything done up here, and then it's gonna go back up on the lift and get the bean sump put on it then. So that's what all we got out of the tank there, including a bunch of rocks right there. We got her all cleaned out, wiped down. So now we're gonna reinstall our sending unit. We'll get on to putting the cab down, bolting that up, get everything done on the engine bay, raise it up, do the sump. We're all together minus doing the sump, minus the Mishimoto lower radiator hose that's wrong, and the Mishimoto coolant filtration that did not come with the bracket for mounting it. So we don't have any coolant in it, but we do have it all primed up. All right, we're hopefully gonna crank this thing up soon. Lee is doing his transmission pan and filter that he sent with it, which was the deeper pan, new pan. I'm back here gaining access to do the sump. You have to cut the skid plate so the sump can go on. Only thing left to do is pull the vacuum on the AC system and put the driver's side charge air pipe and the air filter on up there. And we got something to do with this exhaust. This exhaust he bought was supposed to retain the factory cat, so I've got to do some making here to use this flange to run the rest of the exhaust. I don't know if I'm gonna do that right now or not, but we'll see. So I'm gonna work on getting this sump in, and we'll be able to prime the fuel system in. All right, sump is in. We painted our raw metal edges from where we cut it out so it don't rust. Got both of our lines run, all zip tied nice and neat, going to our fast right there. Lee's done with the transmission pan, so we're gonna set this down, start putting diesel on it. Put our transmission fluid in, as I mentioned, charge air pipe, air cleaner, do a quick double check of everything, and then try to crank this dude up. So keep in mind, you're looking in the mirror behind the front cover. Right there, you can see that drip. So that's a drip. That's where I'm looking right there, in the front cover there. Why are we draining coolant and brand new braking oil out of this Excursion we just put together?
Because the front cover gasket is leaking.
As you can see, we got coolant there. It's basically leaking at that uppermost water port right there where the metal line comes into it. Did a pressure test on it, and I just thought my pressure tester was leaking. Poured coolant in it, and we finished up the fuel lines, all that stuff yesterday, and then it's dripping coolant on the floor. And then went on and pressure tested it with coolant, and it's just pouring out of there. And I went back around, I pulled enough stuff off to go around the bolts, make sure everything was torqued right, which it was. I actually went on up to 20 foot-pounds from 18 with no change. So we're going to pull the front cover back off and see what's wrong with the gasket or the front cover or whatever it is. What I did first was remove the fan, remove that idler pulley. We got to remove the other one still right there. What else did I get off? Belt, tensioner, and that's where we're at now. This truck, we're not running the rear fan shroud on it, so you'd be removing that also before you do this. But just get to this point, we're taking the low pressure cover off now, and we got to pull the wear sleeve, and then power steering pump. What else? the exhaust back pressure sensor bracket, take the upper radiator and lower radiator and the bypass hose off. I think we'll be free and clear then to pull it off. All right, so pulling your wear sleeve, you can see where I grabbed a hold of it right here, but I use this little 3-jaw puller that I've kind of modified, and I had to flatten the edges out for the initial pull, and then I took where it grabs and put a nice flat edge on it because they were kind of rounded edges. This is just a cheap puller, but it works great for pulling this so you're not trying to cut it, because I've always had a fear when I have cut them of nicking the crank or whatever, and then you're causing yourself problems with that. So that's how you get your wear sleeve off. All right, got the low pressure cover off, gears off, wear sleeve off, power steering pump pulled off, which is just 10 millimeters. You can just leave this bolt in here because that one hose is going to keep you from pulling the bolt out. We're going to get all the lower bolts out of the cover. We're going to lower the truck down, get the bypass hose, the upper radiator hose, the exhaust back pressure sensor bracket, that other idler pulley, unplug the coolant temp sensor, and then address the hard black line that goes in the front cover on that side, and then we should be ready to come off. All right, we took our idler pulley off, we unplugged our coolant temp sensor, we took our exhaust back pressure sensor bracket and took it all the way off and just set it up there. Bypass hose, lower radiator hose, upper radiator hose. Went on and took the fan shroud off. What else? I think that's it. So now we're gonna pull the rest of the tents. Oh, I undid our coolant hose from here. I'm just gonna leave this in there because that's a new O-ring, and I always put just a little bit of RTV around the edge of that. I hate to bust it loose if I don't have to. So we're gonna pull the rest of these tins and get the cover off. All right, so it's always a relief to know it wasn't your fault. So if you notice there's something missing around this port, and there's something missing around this port, there's no rubber sealing surface on either side of this Motorcraft front cover gasket. If you look at the Felpro one here, and I am a fan of Felpro, you can see rubber and rubber around both of those the way that's supposed to be. So we're gonna get all this cleaned up. We got to get our Loctite off of the crankshaft down there where the wear seal was on it. So we're probably gonna raise it back up and clean the bottom side really good, know that's all clean. Wipe, spray everything down, and get ready to reassemble this. And of course you got to put your silicone sealant right there where the bed plate and the block and the front cover all meet there where the gasket sticks out. So we'll get that all cleaned up, prepped, and put it together. That bolt's lined right up. Feels like it. My fingers are so fucking greasy, I can't do anything. One right over here.
Looks like the bottom needs to go in.
All right, we got our low pressure oil pump in. Cover worked great. Old Diesel Tech Ron's trick with the putty knife and the grease on the donut gasket worked great. So now we're gonna lift the truck back up, and we're gonna torque all our bolts from the bottom. It's just easier to see all of them doing it from the bottom down there, standing underneath it. And then we can install our wear sleeve with the Loctite, put the low pressure oil pump cover back on, and then get back to where we were, throw all this stuff back together. Fill it back up with oil and coolant because we drained all of our driven diesel break-in oil out because we didn't want to risk possible contamination with coolant or anything. So, and then we'll be able to crank this thing up. We're sitting steady at, I don't know, we probably just pumped it up to about 8 pounds. Just letting it sit here and hold just to double check everything. Gonna watch it, make sure there's no drop now because there was a drop before, clearly. All right, we're setting up auto ingenuity. All fluids are checked, everything. We're gonna crank on this thing and hear a run for the first time. About 3 crank cycles. All right, we've had her here idling for about 30 minutes, monitoring everything. Gonna let her get up to operating temperature. We're gonna shut her down here in just a second, check all of our fluids. We got some exhaust to put on this thing so it'll be nice and quiet driving it so we can listen to the motor real good. And then we'll take her on her maiden 50-mile voyage that we have to use the driven diesel break-in oil with, and then we'll drain that and fill it up with the Rotella 1540. All right, so we are, let's see, what are we at? We're 46.1 miles into our 50-mile break-in with our driven diesel break-in oil. I've just been kind of lapping it here several miles around the house on the back roads, which is starting and stopping and taking off, putting different loads on it. You don't want to just get on the highway and just cruise at one speed. So that's what we've been doing. So we're going to do this tomorrow. We will crank it up, get it up to operating temp, and drop this oil and put the Rotella 1540 in it. We've got a little bit of a weird idle, and I think it's the IPR, because I remember this was a no-name IPR when we were putting it together, and I'm thinking that's the issue. Either that or it's the 15530 Warren injectors that we put in here would like to have a tune. It's one of the two things. So we'll figure that out tomorrow. We're going to wire up a brake controller for them, double check transmission fluid, and then this will be good to go. So everything's been great. Been driving it for probably 45 minutes now to put this amount of miles on it. So we will finish this up tomorrow. Hey, how do you feel?
Feel great.
How do you feel about that?
Extra great.
What about you, Bubba? This turned into a way bigger project and waiting on parts and front covers and this and that and this not being right and everything else. But hey, it's all done. Engine bay sure is pretty. And before anybody says about this, Mishimoto did not send the bracket for it. They are sending the bracket now. So to have everything plumbed up and done, short of putting it on the bracket, it's sitting there right now. Real nice. And it sure does drive good. Nice and quiet. Truck drives really good too. If he gets the outside fixed up now, she'll be real nice because the interior is clean. So today, to finish this up, wired his EGT probe up on the inside, did his brake controller. What else we do today? Oh, I charged the AC up. I was forgetting about that.
Charge AC, brake controller.
Oh, we did the oil change. We changed the Rotella 1540 T4, which he's got to run for a while because you don't want to run a full synthetic in this new motor at all for a while. And yeah, she's good to go now. I'll be driving her here and there until he comes back from Florida to pick her up, or drives up from Florida rather to pick her up. All right, guys, hope y'all enjoyed the video on getting this Excursion put back together. The project just kind of snowballed on him because he had no idea he was going to have a tore up camshaft, wore out lifters, cylinder walls that looked bad, front cover destroyed with a low pressure oil pump that was bad also. But we got it all straightened out with that Choates short block, got all of his nice parts put on there that he brought with it. Truck runs and drives great. I think he's going to be very happy with it. We've put a little over 100 miles on it now, breaking it in. I got the T4 oil in there for him now, so it's ready for him to come pick back up and drive it back to Florida. We got a whole lot of other stuff going on here at the shop. We got Old Red on the lift now, finishing up this 390 and doing the fuel injection, fuel cell, all that fun stuff in it. Looking forward to having the shop truck back. Go check out the other content on the channel here. Check us out, automaticgarage.com. Got some merch on there. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And if this channel has helped you out, help you save some money or fix your own ride, or you just want to help support content on the channel here, go consider visiting our Patreon and becoming a member of that. We do some behind the scenes stuff, do some giveaways. But anyways, we appreciate y'all watching. This is Automatic Garage signing out. We'll holler at y'all later.